Kol Haloyim Yahweh, Bahasham, Hamashiach Yahushai, Bahasham Rakakodash, Barakatham. Shalom. This is your fellow servant Tazawar from the GMS Orlando camp, here with another lesson. First, I want to start off by giving all glory, honor, and praise unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham Rakakodash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of Great Millstone who rule well, and from whom we learn His truth. Shalom to you, Akim, who are not in GMS, but are pushing likewise doctrine in spirit and in truth with all sincerity. To you few sisters that are listening and learning, as well as you speckled birds who are scattered among the nations, looking like those nations, to the 144,000 elect men, and the rest of the hopeful elect. To you I say, Shalom. This lesson is a little late, but I'm going to do it nonetheless. And it'll be a quick one. But it is inspired by I guess recent festivities in the world, festivals, whatever, recent festivals in the world, and the conversations in passing, that I hear when I'm at work, or what I call the plantation, which is my place of employment, right? It's like an inside joke thing, because we are servants in this kingdom, right? This is our captivity. And in the kingdom to come, we won't have to work. Anyway, once you depart from a lot of the shit in the world, a lot of the, I guess, popular pop culture customs that are common here in Babylon the Great, you forget, like, you literally forget, like, what days of festivities and all of that people engage in, right? So the top of this week, they did the Easter thing, right? And I didn't even realize it was that, time for that event, festival, whatever, till I got to work, right? It was a few people out on Monday, whatever. I'm bopping along, just kind of like, doing my own thing, sitting at my desk, computer shit. And then Tuesday come in, people like, oh, how was your holiday? I'm like, holiday? Oh yeah, yeah. And that just shows you, like, when you really detach from this place, and have no dealings with a lot of the folly, you forget about because the week before they had something on what was it? Ashy Wednesday. Ashy Knuckle Wednesday. And then they had Friday. Good Friday. But the point is I went through the whole week without even realizing it was that time of year. But again, the point of this video is a reminder to those who have heard the word, right? Hearkened into the word. And you may be in a transition period where you purging things out of your life, right? That's really the purpose of me doing this video. Is for those of you who are in that space where you're trying to detach. Okay? Because if you've been tuning in to not just this channel, but GMS in general, all right, and the Israelite community or movement as a whole, you should know that you are to put off the customs of this world. That's the word I was looking for. I kept saying festival. The customs of this world, right? Call Haloim Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. And it becomes easier over time, like, you know, like through the spirit, like my people, my family, you know, they know what time it is, like, so they don't even mention certain shit to me anymore. And if they drop me in some group chat, chain message or whatever, I never respond. I never send like the smiley emoji or the same to you, whatever. I just don't respond. Or I delete that shit. But you know, they don't especially in person, like they don't bring up any of those customs because they know that all who dwell under my roof do not partake. Right? And again, for those of you who are transitioning, right, trying to find your path in this truth, GMS is where you're going to learn the most. All right? And it's going to be thus saith the Lord. So, with that, let's get what I want. First, let's get this. This is John chapter 4. And probably down here. How I want to get this. This kind of rolling in the spirit, man. You know what? Let me do this first before I grab that. Let me grab this Jeremiah 10, right? Now I'm gonna qualify this. I'm gonna qualify this because let's just get it first. This is Jeremiah 10:2. It say, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. For the heathen are dismayed at them, for the customs of the people are vain." Right? "For one cutteth the tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver, and with gold they fasten with nails, and with hammers that it move not." Right? So when you go into this, originally we always bring this out going into the custom of Christmas, right? What they call Christmas or Xmas. What you know, they do exactly what it say right here. They cut a tree out. However, this is the point that I wanted to get. The top of verse 3 is say the customs of the people are vain, right? In verse 2, it say, learn not the way of the heathen. Okay? So the top of both verse 2 and 3 is really what I want to point at. And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. All right? Because as we know, in ancient times they used the sky, right, to keep the calendar. And on this side, we do as well, tracking the Sabbath, all right, and our new year, okay, which is our Passover. But the takeaway here is learn not the ways of the heathen, because there's folly. All right, now this Easter thing is a fertility festival. All right, it's a fertility festival, man. Right, and it really go back to when you dig and do the research, it go back to the goddess Ashtaroth, right? Of course, which go back to that's a ancient Babylonian goddess. Now the Grecians had their version. I forget what it was called. But they reverenced, Aphrodite and all of that as a fertility goddess. Okay, listen, and don't know rabbits lay no eggs, right? So that's another thing. Just as far as the folly goes, right? And then you passing this down to your children, getting the kids, the children involved in idol worship. And the twisted part about it is when you mention a lot of this stuff to Christians, they will claim to know it, right? Speaking on Easter in particular, and then some of them will be bold enough to say, well, even Christmas is a pagan holiday, then why your ass celebrating it? Right? But what I wanted was the top of verse 2, learn not the way of the heathen. All right? And then verse 3, the customs of the people are vain. Okay? Now, from there, let me do this. This is Leviticus chapter 18. And verse 2, it says, speak unto the children of Israel, say unto them, I am Yahweh, all right, your power. Okay, I am Yahweh, your power. After the doings of the land of Egypt, all right, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do, neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. All right, you see that? Ye shall do my judgments and keep mine ordinances to walk therein. I am Yahweh, your power. You see that? And the scriptures speak of Babylon the Great, right? When you go into the book of Ezekiel, it speaks on, I believe it's 37th chapter, could be 38th chapter. It speaks on that place that is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. All right, so we know that the Sodomites are heavy over here. That sodomitish spirit is heavy over here. Okay, and then Egypt representing the hardcore bondage, the chattel slavery. Okay, so even though this was given to us under Moses, because this is Leviticus in this law here, this can be carried over and applied to us in this captivity, man, right here. All right, and again, like I said, through the Spirit, Babylon the Great, which is America, all right, the daughter of Babylon, the mystery Babylon, the harlot, the whore, all right, that is Lady Liberty. That is America. Okay. And let me do one more. I had one more in Deuteronomy 12. And let me start at 28. The points in like 30 and 31. Let me start at 28. Right? This is Deuteronomy 12 and 28. It says, observe and hear all these words which I command thee, that it may go well with thee and with thy children after thee forever. Right? This is why I mentioned in particular this custom that passed. They got the kids in all sorts of folly, man. You know, with the activities, the festival games, the stories, the bright colors, and the candy, the sweets, the dainties, right? All shit that children love to do, all right? And the games for playing, right? Because how does Jake learn? Jake learns through song, dance, games. That's really how we as a nation learn. Okay? We don't learn like the other nations. Our best version of learning is not as the other nations, where we just do shit repetitively. All right? Over and over. That repetition is the father's skill, but when it comes to us as a people, we tend to thrive through song, dance, and games, because that's always been a part of our culture. And when you go through the scriptures, you can see that a lot of the things that were passed down to us were passed down through stories, passed down through song. All right. And then when you actually start getting into our customs, we had dance and things like that, man. All right. And that held true all the way from our exile out of Jerusalem up into when we landed on to the western coast of Africa, even now into this day, over here in this captivity. All right. That's why, like, back when I was coming up, they had like nursery rhymes and all of that shit, that, you know, and little sayings and stuff, because that's how most of the time that's the best way people learn. Anyway, middle of verse 28 again. I'll start at the top. Observe and hear all these words which I command thee, that it may go well with thee and with thy children after thee forever, when thou doest that which is good and right in the sight of the Lord Yahweh thy power. All right. When the Lord Yahweh thy power shall cut off the nations from before thee, whither thou goest to possess them, and thou succeedest them, and dwellest in their land, all right, which we did in the land of Canaan. All right. Take heed. This is the point. Take heed to thyself, that thou be not snared by following them, after that they may be destroyed. After that they be destroyed from before thee. and that thou inquire not after their gods. You see that? And that thou inquire not after their gods. Okay? So we're not to even be curious, inquisitive about their gods. And whether you know it or not, each of these festivals, customs, all right, they have a set of deities that they go back to. Like I just said, Ashtoreth is an Aphrodite, all right, for the Greeks, for those fertility festivals. Okay. Inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. You see that? That's the point. Yeah, that's the point right there. So we're not to come after their customs. All right. Listen. Now the Lord dropped us over here for slavery, gave us into the hand of the Edomites, right? Well, the Northern Kingdom was already over here. They did a land grab, treaty breakers and all type of slaughter and colonization for the Northern Kingdom. They did that to the Northern Kingdom, right? But then Judah was brought over here on ships, right? And the scriptures say we were oppressed together over here. Judah and Ephraim were oppressed together. So now, because we are servants in a land, in a kingdom that we don't rule, all right, the Lord has these people, these Edomites, before us. All right, but we are now witnessing the downfall, the decline of their kingdom, okay, of Babylon the Great. Okay, and this has nothing to do with the right amount of people turning, keeping the law and turning back to the Lord. No, this is all due to the timeline of the Heavenly Father. All right. But what that does is it shows us, it gives us that viewing, that looking glass, man, that we can see via the scriptures, the times that we are in, and how we should be more diligent, more than ever, as far as separating, all right, from this system. Okay. Now, ultimately, we know that that's of the Lord, all right, because he controls the minds of men, all right, and whether an individual will be converted or not, that's all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? But if you have been awakened to this truth, it would behoove you, all right, to do your best to separate from all those all forms of folly, especially in that regard is going into idol worship. All right, because that's what landed our asses over here in the first place. Okay. Now, Lord willing, we be a part of that number where we can endure and see the Lord remove these devils from among us as well. All right. But again, when you go into the scriptures, it talk about people that are going to be in the wilderness, hiding behind trees, eating rats and swine's flesh and all that type of shit. Right. And that time hasn't come yet. So again, we are not, the practice is now, right? Rehearsing the righteous acts. All right. As we often say. All right. To separate from the customs and the folly of Babylon the Great. Okay. Being renewed in your mind. Now, Now what I want. Now let me get oracles. I don't remember what that said. Yeah, 1 Peter 4:11. Right? Because let me just read it. 1 Peter 4:10. As every man hath received a gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Yahweh power, right? But how do we do that? If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Yahweh power giveth, that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai in all things may be glorified through Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. So be it. Right? Amen. And this is the point, because this thing is that has the guise of a religious holiday, right? But knowing that this shit is pagan, it's got pagan customs, we shouldn't be involved in it in any stretch, in any wise. All right. Now that's not to say that you can't utilize grace if your people throwing a barbecue or cookout or something, whatever it is, they got a meal going. You can go get you a plate, right? But your ass ain't got to be there for no Easter egg hunt or no, whatever it is that they're gonna be doing, right? And the same thing. It's another thing coming up soon. I don't want to say something wrong. Anyway, that Mardi Gras joint, I don't know if it's around this time of year or the end of the year, but that's a feast of Bacchus, right? But people be having food out the wazoo, man. Right? You can get you a plate. Likewise with all of those holidays that come with the big, the big meals, how we get down. Go get your plate. Kiss your old auntie, your old auntie and uncle on the cheek, on the forehead, whatever. Punch the nephew in the chest, tell him he got big ears, and get your ass down the road. Right? And then you pray over your plate in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and then you keep it pushing. Right? Yeah, but you disconnect, right? You don't be a part of the festivities, right? You don't take part in those customs. Okay, Paul speaks on that too concerning food that is sacrificed unto idols. Right? If you be convicted, then don't eat of it. But if you at a place in your journey where you can go grab a plate and you pray over it in the names of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and you eat and you good, then hey, by all means. But like I say, as a whole, you should be separate from those type of things. Like I say, I ain't even realized that thing was going on until the shit had passed already. Like on Tuesday or whatever. Which is originally I wanted to do this last Tuesday night, but time didn't permit. Anyhow, and as you see, concerning the worship of idols and all these things, I'm coming out of the scriptures. Right? We went to the law. Okay, after those customs and ordinances, we shall not do. And it said the customs and ordinances of those nations and of the land, right? We don't partake in those things. Now, it was supposed to be quick. I'm supposed to be off of here already. It's through the Spirit. What I wanted. Now let's go to John chapter 4 and 22. Right? Because we know what we worship. And this is the point. This is John chapter 4, verse 22. Ye worship, ye know not what. Right? We know what we worship. Okay? For salvation is of the Jews. Now, this is words in red. So this is Yahweh Shai speaking. Okay? Now, a little backstory. This is when he was going to Samaria, right? The country of Samaria. I believe it was somewhere about Galilee. But it was in the northern kingdom, and he sat down after his trek, his journey, and this woman here was at the well, right? This is that Samaritan woman by the well. This is the exchange between her and then Yahweh Shai. Okay. But as pertaining to this lesson, again, going into those customs, a lot of people don't even realize what they're a part of. They don't realize what they're worshiping, which is cold because the balance of the Lord shows that, our elders and apostles often say that a lot of people that come into the truth don't know what they signed up for, don't know what they are a part of, right? Because perilous times await the true believers of Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, man. All the way down to the guillotines, man. All right. Perilous times await us. Yet and still we openly proclaim these things. And we know that the government got us on wax, man. They got our faces. They got us all in databases and shit. And fuck them. We don't really give a damn about none of that shit. Right? We gonna keep doing what we doing. All right. And Lord willing, Yahweh Ratazah, all right, Bahasham Mashiach Yahweh Shai, that he keep the spirit on us. All right. That if we gotta go back up to the upper room, that we take that, take that cheerfully, if that be what he have in store. But Lord willing, we be among the number that endure unto the end. Okay, so verse 22 again, ye worship, ye know not what. Right. So y'all didn't know about Aphrodite and Ashtaroth, right? Which is even where the word Easter come from. All right. Ye worship, ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. Reading on, but the hour cometh, and now is, this is the point, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Right? For the Father seeketh such to worship him, which is why we went to 1 Peter 4 about those, if any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of the Heavenly Father. All right? For the Father seeketh such to worship him. Yahweh is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. All right, now these are words in red. So that's Yahweh Shai speaking. Okay? But this is how we coming with it, man. And hey, and don't think that brothers ain't went through the growing pains of being cut, right? Realizing that we was off and going through folly. That's part of the journey. All right, that is part of the journey. And it's beautiful when that happens, because in hindsight, what you come to realize is that that's your conscience being pricked. That's conviction, as the Christians say. Lord willing, that's conviction. And, Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Adawan Ratazah, that sparks a change, right? That sparks a change in you. Okay? So we know what we worship. Okay? The other part, let me get one more. This Philippians 3:3, right? Because listen, on this side, if we be of that number, if we be the men, and somebody gotta be, then we are of the circumcision, right? In heart, though. The circumcision in heart, not the physical circumcision. Right? And that's how we have to be, circumcised in heart first. This is Philippians 3:3. I'm going to just get straight to the point and then close it out. For we are the circumcision which worship Yahweh in the spirit and rejoice in Hamashiach Yahweh Shai and have no confidence in the flesh. All right. Now, when you read on through this verse, there's Paul going into his faith in Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, his faith in Yahweh Shai, and decreasing and letting all those things of the flesh that he had that was gained for him, he let them fall by the wayside and perish, because Paul was on paper a righteous man, right? He was of the circumcision. He was a Pharisee. He was educated in the law. Concerning the law, he had no blemish, no folly, right? He had a good report about him. But these things are of the flesh. All right. And he understood even at that time that the kingdom which is promised, all right, to, if I may say, and this is me speaking as a man, to a circumcision of a sort of circumcision, because it's really the elect, right? The elect. That promise to them is far greater than Paul could, anything that Paul could have gotten in his time as an Israelite on a planet through the customs of men. All right, through the righteousness of men. His status and all of that. It wouldn't be worth a wood plug nickel, man. A wooden nickel in comparison. All right. But again, we have to worship in spirit and in truth. Okay, that's the point. Okay, verse 3 again, the top of verse 3 is why I read that. Brought this verse out. For we are the circumcision which worship God in the spirit and rejoice in Hamashiach Yahweh Shai and have no confidence in the flesh. And that rejoicing in Hamashiach Yahweh Shai is the other part of the equation. All right, we can't do anything on our own, because when we woke up to this thing, we was already covered in filth and had already committed so many abominations that was worthy of death, man. All right. But again, as far as those who are transitioning, you're on your path and growing through the spirit, You have to worship Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai in spirit and in truth. And you got to go based on the scriptures. You got to go based on thus saith the Lord. All right. Anyway, with that, I pray this lesson finds you well. I pray that it was edifying. Until next time, Shalom. Wa Abad Babal.